Welcome, this is Pages of Progress, where we take the pages of pedagogy and create progress in the classroom. I'm Fisi. My previous video was about turning graphic organizers into manipulatives. Today's strategy is 1, a spin-off from leveraging graphic organizers, and 2, how to teach students to plan any writing task they are given. Planning is half, if not most, of the battle. Not to mention, organization and clarity counts more in graded essays such as the TSIA2. So this strategy can also be used by adults when planning any sort of task, and for those supporting a student or learner, you can increase their success by helping them plan. So let's see what knowledge you will walk away with.
You will learn how to teach students to plan their writing and how that fits into the explicit teaching of the writing process. You will also learn the difference between a topic and a prompt and the 2 strategies to show students how to navigate any type of writing task.
Why is planning so crucial, and what does research say about this? I will always validate strategies I share by tying them back to what research says. So here we have Marzano. Planning for writing is one part of a writing process. Marzano advocates for a very systematic approach using modeling and explicitly teaching different strategies for planning their writing. Don't forget the guided practice before actually assigning a writing task. In other words, don't just assign writing, teach it. Now we have Hattie. I really like to explore the science behind how we learn, and Hattie's Visible Learning and the Science of How We Learn is an amazing resource to understand the how and why behind learning. All those little strategies we pick and utilize should have substance behind them, not because it looks fun or cool. Hattie's biggest emphasis is the clear intentions and success criteria. This basically means you use depth of knowledge to show students what success looks like at all stages of learning, from basic knowledge to synthesis, clear as kind. For our language learners, SIOP also reiterates the importance of setting clear language and content objectives. I'm going to show you examples of both in the context of planning for writing. UDL addresses the unique needs of diverse learners, especially those with disabilities, and they advocate for scaffolded support, guided practice, and opportunities to practice. The strategy I will show you is rooted in great pedagogy. Now, what is it? First, understand that educational entities will always ask learners to read and respond. This is the essence of education. Let me give you the knowledge and the skills, etc. Now show me what you know. This approach is not the problem. Thinking is invisible. The only way we gauge whether students grasp our concepts is through outcomes. It's the types of responses we ask from students, the lack of scaffolded and explicit teaching so they can respond successfully. Here's an example. A social studies teacher may read a text about an historical event and then ask students to write about it. Some students can do this. Some cannot, because it's the writing process issue, not a concept or content issue. An English teacher is teaching a compare-contrast essay. They lecture for 45 minutes, then assign it, and it's due in 2 weeks. No. The key to response, or how we get students to show what they know, is how we set up the learning. This is through careful planning, using depth of knowledge, and scaffolding the cognitive load of the task. Students can respond, but we aren't setting it up for success to do that. There are so many graphics out there in internet land about depth of knowledge, so just pick one, but actually use it. How many of you use Teachers Pay Teachers? TPT has a place, but it lacks depth of knowledge. Here's an example. My son learned the cycle of a butterfly. He used macaroni to label and identify the different stages on a paper plate. I'm sure it took that poor teacher 2 days to get those kids to accomplish that. When he brought it home, I looked at the paper plate, I praised its aesthetic value, and then I asked him, why do you learn the cycle of a butterfly? And he couldn't answer me. Do you know why we teach students the cycle of a butterfly? Most would answer to identify and label the stages. That's only level 1. Even though creativity was used in the form of macaroni, it was beautiful. The answer is asking a different question. Why do caterpillars need to turn into butterflies? It's because they can't reproduce on their own. They have to turn into a butterfly in order to lay the eggs. This is the depth of knowledge that's often missed in a Teachers Pay Teachers lesson. So let's take depth of knowledge and apply it to the writing process or the strategy I'm showing you today. At level 1, a response is just basic recall or answering questions. In this context, a student would simply answer multiple choice questions or even just respond to the teacher during a lecture. This is not deep enough. Level 2 is applying the knowledge and skills. Most teachers would stop here. I lectured for 45 minutes about what a compare and contrast essay is, and I showed you examples. You even took a quiz on it. Now write one yourself. Sadly, this is where most assignments land because it's easy for the teacher. How's that working out for you? Level 3 is where my strategy comes in. Multi-step tasks while answering questions. Level 1, explaining or comparing. Level 2, and developing and constructing using very strategic thinking. I know what you're saying. Constructing an essay is level 3, is it? Did you do multiple steps over several days? Did you allow for inference, conclusion, and even evaluating the multi-steps? Probably not. Yes, writing an essay or even a plan would be a level 3 if you use level 1 and level 2 to get there. Level 4 is very open-ended with complex thought. There probably isn't a right or wrong answer at this level, but level 1 through 3 is needed to accomplish it. My point is, don't stop at level 1 or the assumption it's a level 2 because it saves time or it's easy to grade. That will come back to bite you later, especially on most standardized tests. Now that you understand the why and depth of knowledge, let me show you 2 very powerful strategies to teach students that have any writing task.
Let's learn the difference between a topic and a prompt and the 2 strategies to navigate any type of writing task. The term topic and prompt are used interchangeably, and we will separate the 2 for clarity. A topic is a big general or broad idea. The details or main points must be generated by the author. A prompt is longer, specific, and may have multiple questions. The main points may have already been developed. This looks like typical topics, right? The author has to narrow down the main points that they will talk about. You give the author a topic about their summer vacation. Well, they did a lot of things over the summer, and the student will probably list everything they did in the actual writing. The strategy to teach students when given a prompt is called list, pick, and choose. This is an empowering writer strategy. List everything they know about the topic, pick ideas, words, or concepts that are alike and group them together. If the topic was about the fall season, the author generates everything they know, anything that comes to mind in no particular order. One idea will lead to the next. Now use color or numbering to pick the categories. Our yellow here is the fall season itself, especially the weather. Now we have a blue category of events in fall. Finally, there is a 3rd category of food and drink during the fall season. 3 categories means 3 main points. We choose the order by creating an outline. This will be easy because the main points already exist. The list, pick, and choose strategy is perfect for general, broad writing topics. You will be organized and clear, which counts more than grammar and mechanics. There are also prompts. A prompt sometimes sounds like a scenario. There may be multiple questions, and then it asks you to do a writing task. What's great about prompts is the main points are usually already given to you. Main point 1, describe a ritual. 2, give an example of a time you used it. And 3, explain if it was helpful or not. 3 givens means 3 main points. The strategy for more specific prompts is attack the prompt. This is a Kelly Gallagher strategy. Circle the verbs, draw arrows to the action, and mark out anything unnecessary. Finally, bring down only what is needed. Found the verbs, describe, and give. I marked out write a paragraph because it's unnecessary. I drew arrows from the verb to the action. Describe a ritual. Give an example of when I used it. Give an example of when it was helpful. Now it's time to brainstorm. I always give authors the flexibility of using outlines for more linear thinkers or idea maps for more conceptual, global thinkers. There are many rituals in my life, as you can see in my list, but I chose breathing. I used an idea map to brainstorm how it helps me, what I actually do when I use it, and when I use it. Again, I need to choose the order. This is still part of a very critical organization needed in writing. I've already brainstormed, so I merely make an outline. Notice I was able to expand into 4 body paragraphs. Let's practice. Is this a topic or a prompt? Can obstacles be turned into something good? What about this? Is this a topic or a prompt? Determining whether it's a topic or prompt should be the first step in teaching it or learning it. These terms will be used interchangeably by different teachers or professors. What matters is if you, the learner, can navigate whatever is put in front of you. Teachers, if you want to find topics and prompts, search on released state exams, textbooks, usually these are after a text, simple internet searches, or use ChatGPT. The point is to continuously practice determining if it's a topic or a prompt. This will be a life skill these learners will take with them.
So you may be asking, how do I do this gradually? Well, first is to mentally embrace the idea that understanding and the concept that you're teaching and then writing about it is a very high cognitive load. Not impossible, but it needs to be broken down. Simply break steps into days. So there are many lesson planning methods: UBD, Madeline Hunter, Montessori, project-based learning. Our particular district uses backwards design, UBD, and the instructional design used within that for like particular lesson is engage, experience, and synthesis. This is pretty easy. As I go through each of these stages of this particular lesson, notice how I utilize depth of knowledge fluidly. I go back and forth from levels. Also, notice the possible days it would take to break this lesson up. Totally worth it, I promise. I bet you're asking, how do I plan this out over several days? I've provided a brief lesson planning based on the engage, experience, and synthesis, and teaching this strategy with both content and language objectives. So please know my actual lesson plans would be way more complete and in-depth, taking into account the needs of my learners, but this brief lesson plan should get you started.
Here is a brief lesson plan using our strategy of planning from a topic or a prompt with differentiation. This is not the only way, but simply one way. Let's use engagement, experience, and synthesis to design the instruction. I'll include both formal and informal assessments as well as content and language objectives. Watch how we build language simultaneously. First, let's engage by posing a question, a quote, or a discussion. Even in a warm-up or a teaser, you can provide a structured oral response. What the students will learn is your content objective, and how they show you they're going to learn it is your language objective. Let's stay in the engage stage, but connect it to the student's life. Students can come up with different ways they plan any activity in their life. The responses the students give the teacher are still constructed. These 2 engaged tasks could take 1 or 2 days. So we can even create an activity while still in this engagement phase. We could ask students to experiment with planning by challenging them to plan out a general life activity for 24 hours. They can capture this in a Google Doc or a workspace, not worksheet. I do provide this workspace in the description. Now we provide the experience, or this is your direct instruction, and allow students to practice. First, we teach the difference between a topic and a prompt from various content areas. They must navigate different contents. The goal is just identifying right now, not using yet. To gauge the learning, you can drop the good old multiple choice quiz or allow them to create a visual representation just to identify the difference. Now let's build on the knowledge and teach the strategy to use if a student comes across either a topic or a prompt. Now you're building skill. Sadly, this is where most instruction stops. As an exit ticket or a warm-up, students can analyze the use of each strategy using structured conversation. Evaluating is a very high level as far as depth of knowledge goes. You can combine and separate each task according to the needs of your students. Synthesis literally means to combine ideas to form a theory. So we want to create this for our students. So individually, in pairs, or in a group, they are randomly given a topic or a prompt. They determine the difference, what strategy to use, and then create a plan. Then you would use structured conversation or a workspace to help the teacher gauge the learning beyond just mere observation. So you don't have to stop there. To gamify and take the learning to the highest level, have students find another pair or a group with the same topic and compare their approach. Who knew you could take a simple lesson about planning your writing from perfunctory to perfection? Look at all the opportunities for the teacher to assess the learning with differentiation. Even though it's the process, not the product, a student transfers out the door. You can split or combine each stage in the lesson to fit a week or 2 weeks. I can't wait for you to try this.
I hope this video has a place in your teacher toolbox, especially done effectively at the beginning of the year to ensure smooth writing tasks throughout the rest of the year. Basically, you want students to focus on content later rather than always fumbling in the process. Look at that. We just turned another page into progress. Take one. My God. Quit. So check it out. Notice how notice. Back up. No, I shouldn't laugh. Although it is funny, but I'm not gonna laugh.